Hey footy fans, welcome to the Point of Difference Rugby League podcast. I'm your host Dave, and today we're going back in the day with an absolute superstar, an NRL and Kiwis legend. It's the Rock, Terry Hermansson. How you going, mate?
Good, mate.
That's the way. So thanks heaps for coming on the podcast. We had to twist your arm, but we got you there.
I'm here, mate. I'm here. Bells on.
That's the one. So it's a real privilege to have you. I really do appreciate your time, especially on the weekend, coming in on your days off. So what is the great Terry Hermansson up to these days?
I think you know I'm over at Littleton at our container terminal over there. So we move containers, work the ships, rail and road.
Yep.
Yeah, but just moving containers, mate. Just been there 15 years now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all right. They're not a bad employer.
Nice.
Shift work, yeah. It's not ideal, but
Days and nights?
Yeah. Days and nights,
all over the place.
all over the shop, mate.
Yeah. Oh, mate. Yeah, it's tough doing the old night shift. I don't enjoy nights. I hate it.
No, hate them, mate. Hate them.
Yeah. So you had a good Christmas and New Year period, I hope.
Yep. Overindulged. You might be able to see, but you might just think I was already like that. But yeah.
Oh, brilliant stuff. Okay, man. So the Warriors. I'm dying to know. Are they still your club? Do you support the Warriors as your team?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
As you know, I play for 3 clubs. I'll always have a soft spot for the Rabbitohs. I love my time with the Rabbitohs. They gave me my opportunity in the Winfield Cup back then.
Yep.
Gave me my shot there. And love the Roosters. I had 3 years of the Roosters, 3 years of both South and the Roosters. Uh-huh. Probably played my best football at the Roosters and probably learnt the most.
Yeah.
Played under Phil Gould there.
Yeah.
And then, it was great to come home and had my last 2 years at the Warriors.
Yeah.
And, Warriors are my team.
Nice. Yeah. The reason I asked is they had a brilliant 2023 season.
Unreal.
And so what were your thoughts of their season and why they improved so much? Was it under Andy Webster? You reckon that's the big reason?
It's got to be, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's got to be. They had some fantastic players. And, for me, Aidan Fanua-Blake has been our best player for a couple of years. I know there's been some real good players, but I rate him as probably being our best. I might be a little bit biased, being a front rower.
Yeah, for sure.
But Andrew Webster and his team have got to take the accolades there. I don't know what he's done or how he's done it, but the footy they're playing and the confidence they played with and their ability and unreal for us New Zealand League fans.
Yeah, and they didn't bring in that many players or big names. They just worked with what they had essentially, and it's got the best out of everyone.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's pretty incredible. And then you got Roger coming back.
So we're out of the top 2 teams plus us. Like Panthers have lost a couple, Broncos have lost a couple, and we haven't lost really anyone for next year.
Yeah.
For this year, sorry. And we've had a couple of games with Chanel and Roger. So,
And Kurt Capewell.
Yes.
Pretty big in. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot about him. No, he's a great addition.
Yeah. So we think Warriors top 8 again?
Yep.
All right, let's lock that in. Terry Hermansson says top 8 for the Warriors.
What did you say? Top 4, yeah.
Nice. No, I reckon they're every opportunity of going top 4. So why not?
Yeah.
Roger gives them that X factor they probably need in the back line.
Yeah. Yep. No, definitely.
Amazing. All right, so let's rewind the clock all the way back to the beginning. What was life like for you, and where did you grow up? Who was the young Terry Hermansson?
Okay, so I'm born and bred Christchurch.
Yep.
Aranui boy. I'm the youngest of 5. Got 3 older brothers who used to bash me up and all that sort of stuff. Or play footy against, and I used to get a hiding. I think I remember playing rugby for 1 year when I might have been 5 or 6 for New Brighton.
Oh, true.
The only memory I have of that was that we lost every game and I didn't play again. And then one of my brothers, Nigel, he was a good league player.
Yep.
And he played right through. Like my other 2 brothers played league too, but not every year and that, But Nigel was full on. He got me into to league when I was 11. He was playing for Eastern Suburbs. It's our local team in Aranui. Took me down to a training there when I was 11, and rest is history.
Where it kicked off.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's how you got into the game. What did you enjoy about it, like as a young fella? What kept you going down?
I don't know. Anybody that is successful in our game, you've got to enjoy contact.
Yes.
Could enjoy the physical stuff.
Yep.
And that's probably what I enjoyed back in those days.
Yeah, I love asking that question because I was a wimp growing up. I played badminton, like league. I was too small. I was too skinny. So most people always say they love the contact. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably what kept me going back. And
nice.
because even when I was playing for Eastern Suburbs, we weren't that successful, but I still just loved the game. And in comparison to rugby union, our game, you get to run with the ball and you're always in the play if you want to be in the play and that, and that wasn't sort of the case in rugby union. So
especially for forwards.
Yeah, definitely. So and I was the shape of a forward. So
didn't call you the Rock for nothing.
So that's what I liked about our game. Yeah.
Wonderful. So that's where you started out, Eastern, and then you went to Parklands.
I did. Yeah.
And you actually have the honour of being Parkland's first New Zealand rep. Am I correct in that?
Yeah. Well, I got sort of targeted by they were starting up a new team. Parklands was a new club.
Yep.
And they were starting up a new team, and so there was a few guys from Linwood and from Eastern and a couple of other clubs that went over to Parklands and formed them. My coach Jerry Huppy, rest in peace, Jerry, great man. He got me over there at Parklands when I was 13. Luckily, he'd pick me up for training every day because it was a wee hike from where I was.
Right.
And had a couple of, I think it must have been three years. I think I played from 13s to 16s at Parklands. And when I was 15, made the schoolboy Kiwis.
Lovely.
And so I was their first ever schoolboy rep for that club.
How good is that? Does Parklands even still exist? Because I haven't really heard much of them anymore.
No, I don't know when they folded or when they lost out. But I'm not sure. No, it is a shame.
A few clubs have folded around the area now.
It's a tough gig, rugby league in Christchurch. I know it is right around the country. Auckland's still strong, but everywhere else outside of Auckland, it's a bit of a battle.
Yes, it is. So when you made the junior Kiwis, was that something that made you want to pursue league as a professional career? Like, was that even a thing back in your day? Like I can go professional if I keep at this.
I wouldn't say sort of was in the front of my mind, and that I was lucky because I had good physical ability. I was quite fast and I was quite evasive in that too. For a forward, I played quite a bit of footy in the backs at different times and that too. I always wanted to play league, but I never had goals of actually playing pro or playing for New Zealand. I made 15s. Schoolboy Kiwis, made 17s, and then I made the junior Kiwis.
Yep.
But just on natural ability really.
Right.
And I wasn't putting in the hard work. I was lazy. I was never really fit.
Yeah.
And so like I said, I just got through and made those on natural ability. And then it wasn't until I got to about my second year 19s. I missed out on the junior Kiwis because I'd made it my first year because you used to have 2 years at 19s.
Right.
Made it my first year, but missed out. Second year, there was a bit of a kick in the guts.
I bet.
But I was flating with 5 guys, and you do, when you're flating with teenagers, I
had my days flating.
So it wasn't forefront of my mind on the rugby league,
It's anything like my days, it was a lot of alcohol and a lot of fish and chips.
Yeah, a lot of trying to chase women unsuccessfully, sort of stuff. But so I just mucked around for a few years, from 19s to first couple of years, premier years and that, and was a bit lost and didn't have great direction, and
So who were you playing for in premiers back then?
I debuted with Papanui. After Parklands, I went and played at Papanui with a few mates there. We had a pretty good team in the 19s. We actually, in the 17s, I think I must have still been at Parklands, but we had 5 guys that made the New Zealand 17s from our Canterbury team.
Wow, that's decent.
And then the next year, we were all in the same club at Papanui.
Yep.
And we'd actually got another couple of guys that played for us too that were New Zealand reps, Craig Foyts, Daryl Chick.
Yep.
So we would have had 7 or 8 Kiwis in our one team when we were playing 19s for Papanui.
That's just Papanui.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is such a good record to have.
Yeah.
Yes. And were there any good rival opposition players, particularly props that you might have come up against in the local comp?
Well, I wasn't a prop.
Oh, you're playing more back row
I
centre?
was always a back row.
Right.
Yeah, I was always a back row, 13 or second row.
Okay.
So it wasn't. Yeah. Oh, there was there was always good talent. And I always look back and think there's guys just as good as me that could have done all right in Australia, and that just didn't get the opportunity. I was lucky. I sort of made my opportunity in the end because it was a little bit difficult to get over to Australia back in those days.
Well, what was it that stopped people from going over? Like, why was it so hard?
The New Zealand Rugby League had these ridiculous transfer regulations.
Right.
So to get a full clearance to play overseas, you had to have played 6 test matches for the Kiwis or been on 2 Kiwi tours, which is ridiculous. 2 full Kiwi tours. And then if you qualified, then there was a $48,000 transfer fee, Australian.
Who has that kind of money back
Well,
then?
they did for the likes of Mark Graham. I don't know. Well, even the ones that went to England too, I think the likes of Fred Arcoy and Gary Kemble and that.
Yep.
I think, they got full clearances, so I think their clubs must have paid that.
Right.
So you couldn't go to Australia.
Right.
I think Dane Sorensen did the same thing. He paid the 48. Kurt, he had to sit out a year. I'm sure he sat out a year, and then once you weren't playing for a year, you didn't come under the New Zealand Rugby League jurisdiction, and you were a free agent type thing. So that's what Kurt did. I think somebody actually said he might have done 2 years, but yeah, so...
Because there was a lot of players kicking around that were Kiwis in the New South Wales Rugby League, but not many, in comparison to today, obviously. But there was a scattering of, Kiwi boys that were obviously Kiwis, so that's why they made it.
Well, the late 80s, they brought in this rookie scheme.
Yes.
Where they allowed some of the best young Kiwi talent to go over and play 1 year in the Winfield Cup and then come back and supposedly bring that experience back.
Right.
And that was when, from here, Andrew Vincent, who I played with the Papa Nui, was a good player. He could have gone all the way too. He got one of the rookie schemes.
Yep.
So I'm not sure the exact dates. Would have been between 87 and 89, something like that.
Yep.
Jared McCracken got one.
Yep.
Tawara Nico.
Yes.
Paul Nahu, I think.
Yep.
And Tony Kemp. Yep. Tony Kemp went to Newcastle.
He did.
And in his first year, he played first grade.
Wow.
Yeah, so at 18 and 19, he played first grade there, and he wanted to stay, and they wanted to keep him.
Yeah.
So he lodged legal proceedings against New Zealand Rugby League.
Wow.
As a restraint of trade, their stupid transfer regulations. And went on for a while. It cost them a lot of money, I think.
Holy moly.
And went on for a wee while, and then towards the end, before it actually went to court, New Zealand Rugby League pulled out because they knew they couldn't win because it was a restraint of trade.
Right.
And that's when it freed us up to go to Australia then.
That's incredible.
So when I went over in 93, I reckon there would have only been about 15, 17 Kiwis in the Winfield Cup then.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I think Asini Famalo, he was
one of the rookies. Yes,
went to Balmain.
Yes, sorry, of course he was. Yeah,
yeah, he did mention Jared McCracken as well, and a few other guys I watched as a kid coming through, in the Australian Rugby League. Yeah.
Sorry for forgetting you, Asini. Sorry.
Oh, mate, that's super cool. And also, before we touch on your overseas days, you finally got picked by Frank Endicott in 1989 for Canterbury after being overlooked a few times. Yeah, what was it like pulling on the Canterbury shirt after knocking around here for a while?
Yeah, well, we had some good players, local players back then, and I was lazy then, but I thought there was times when I warranted selection and didn't make it. I only played 4 games for Canterbury, I think, so I would have been eligible from about 88 to 92 and played 4 games. There was actually 1 year we had a good forward pack for Canterbury, and Frank said to me, "Why don't you try out as a centre?"
Yeah.
So I got really fit and trimmed up a little bit. And, and I played for my club for Eastern at centre, and Frank picked me at centre, but I'd pulled a groin muscle.
Oh no.
And I was sort of only at about 80%, 90%, and and I didn't. Centre wasn't my position. I was all right, okay with the ball, but laterally defending, I wasn't great. I'm good with guys who are running straight at me.
For sure.
But I think I've only played 4 games for Canterbury and don't have great memories. I don't even know if we won a game. I can't even remember. But yeah, I played one or two games at centre, maybe one, and then a couple of games in the back row, second row or something.
Be similar to a guy like Brett Plowman at the Broncos when he played centre. He was a big lad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, didn't he start on the wing?
Yeah. And then he moved in a bit. He was a big boy knocking about in the centres. Yeah, very similar sort of role, I would imagine. What was Frank Endicott like as a coach? Like, he's loved around here.
Happy Frank. Yeah, everybody loves Frank. And you know, he's a real player's coach. You know, just knows how to get the best out of you. You know, he talks. He's your mate. You know, that's what you want. So he gets you on side that way and that. You know.
Was he the one who made you make that decision? Right, I'm going to get fit. I'm going to go that extra level.
Maybe because that 1 year with Canterbury, we had a real good off-season training program that Frank put together with John Davey, who was top physio back in the day, but he was also like he knew everything with strength and conditioning, that sort of stuff. So they got us into a real good off-season training program, like what the Australians did, you know, conditioning-wise, speed-wise, strength-wise and that, which we hadn't sort of done anything off-season like. We used to play touch in the off-season. That was about it. But so Frank got that program together with John, and that was part of what got me fit enough to be able to do what I wanted to do. Nice.
And then, so then you headed over. Did you actually go to Sydney first, or did you head over to Doncaster? What was the next step in your career?
No, I went to Doncaster. Like, I'd been playing just club football here for Aranui, and there was I'm not even sure what year it was, but it must have been 1989. They had a Great Britain team came out here.
Right.
And one of the supporters was a player manager, and he knew some people at my club at Eastern Suburbs.
Yep.
And they had mentioned to him, this guy goes all right. And I've heard he wants to play in England and that, you know. Yep. So I met with him, and he said, I'll look out for a club for you. And he hooked me up with Doncaster.
Nice.
Which, was great because it was second division back then. This is for the 1989-90 season, so they played in the off season.
That's
then.
Right. Yeah.
And so it was great. I went all the way to England. You know, like, it was professional. I didn't have to work.
Yeah. Awesome.
They put me in a house and gave me a car. Well, eventually gave me a car.
How good's that?
So it was my first taste of professional football.
And you just did your early 20s, getting paid to play rugby league.
Yeah.
How good's that?
Yeah.
Loving life.
I was actually better looked after in England than what I was when I first went to Australia.
And so did you have that same clause like you were talking about with England that they did with Australia?
Yeah. So when you went to England, you could only go for an off-season clearance.
Right.
So you had to, there was a certain date you couldn't get over there before, I don't know what it was, end of October or something like that.
Right.
No, it must have been earlier than that. But anyway, so you play from October or whatever, September, and you had to be back in New Zealand by the end of March.
Yep.
But the season went longer, so you missed some of those games. If it did go longer, you made playoffs and that. Right. But that was the jurisdiction for an off-season clearance, which anybody could apply for. You didn't need that full clearance, and but you just had to be back in the country by end of March.
So I always wondered how it seemed more Kiwis ended up going to the UK.
Yeah.
And then still playing for the Kiwis, and then it always seemed like there was a lot of UK players and New Zealand, like Canterbury players or Auckland, whatever, made up the Kiwis back then.
Yeah. So that's how that works.
That's brilliant to know. So did you enjoy the weather and the people and the general environment over there?
I did, not the weather.
I
love the people. Doncaster it's a cool place.
Yeah.
I've actually just got a mate of mine, Gary Warner. I met him when I was there in 1989. He was just a supporter for the club, and he's just gone home. He was out here just a couple of days ago. We spent a week with him.
Nice.
Come over for a holiday and that. So some lovely people over there.
Yep.
Guy I played with, Carl Hall. He's still over there. I think he's the CEO of the club.
Oh, true.
Yeah, another guy I played with there from here, Andrew Vincent, I mentioned before. He's back in Doncaster. He married a Doncaster girl, so he's there now. So it's
nice.
Yeah, it's got a little place in our heart. Well, it's got a little place in our heart in Doncaster.
Oh, that's awesome.
Lots of us.
So you played 2 seasons over there, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Did you have much success there?
We were middle of the table, I think it was. I went over end of '89. And back then, each club could have 3 overseas imports.
Right.
And Doncaster had 3. They had Carl Hall, Andrew Vincent, and Tony Kemp.
Tony Kemp.
Yeah.
How good.
But they signed me. I went over a couple of weeks later because Kempy was on the Kiwi tour for 8 weeks or something like that. So I could replace him in the quota while he went on the Kiwi tour. So
sweet.
So yes, I did that. So they put me in a house. I was miles out of town.
Yeah.
I think Andrew Vincent had a car, so he'd take me to training. But for the first game, Vinny couldn't pick me up, and I had to catch a bus to the game. 2 buses, actually. Because, like I said, I was miles out of town. And I'd been trying to hassle the club owner for a car, and he'd sort of been fobbing me off a little bit and that, you know. So I busted in for this first game, and I played this first game, and I got man of the match.
Oh, how good.
Come out of the changing rooms, and there was a car there for me.
Oh, mate, that's what you want.
Just a loan car, but But no, I love my time at Donny.
Oh, that's incredible. So that's like your first taste of professional football. And then you're signed with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Did you come back to New Zealand first? Or because you would have had to get that clearance, or was it a case of that rule was now sort of...
No, while I was in England, the rule still existed.
Yes.
And I'd gone back. I'd spoke to a guy called Michael Knowles, who was the CEO or something high up with the New Zealand Rugby League then, because I'd applied for transfers a couple of times. Because back in the early 90s, Western Suburbs showed some interest. They'd just signed Toots, Brendan Tudor.
Oh, Brendan Tudor.
Toots had gone real good over there, and somebody knew them once again in Christchurch, and they came over and said they were keen to sign me.
Yep.
But couldn't get a clearance, and I'd applied a couple of times with this Michael Knowles, and then it was not long after the Tony Kemp's court case thing was sort of ended that he's said to me, why don't you apply again? I think things are going to change now.
Yeah.
So I did. But, so what happened? I don't know whether it was maybe 91 or 92 or something. I was trying, so by then, that was what I wanted to do. I decided I wanted to get to Australia.
Damn right.
Wanted to try and see if I could make it.
Yep.
And I remember contacting a lot of clubs, faxing them and that back in those days, saying I'm keen, blah, blah, blah. The Roosters were the only club that got back to me. Mark Murray was the coach.
Oh, yeah. Great coach.
And he goes, look, I've got these open day trials. You can come over and play with those. They're invite only, so it's not just anybody. And he said, if you go okay in that, then we'll take you through to the graded trials the week after, which is the first grade and reserve grade players. Right. So if you want to come over, you'd have to, stay for 2 weeks type thing. And this was the year that Frank and John Davey had put in a good off-season training program with the Canterbury Rugby League here.
Right. Good timing.
So I was quite fit then. I said, So I went over there. It was in the early February. Like I said, I think it might have been 91, 92 maybe. And, played in these. There was about 150 people.
Really? Played
in these trials. There was about 8 trial games. There were 11-man trials, real open fields and that. And I thought I'd gone okay. But, and then at the end of that, set everybody down, and he picks 4 players to go through to the next week's graded trials.
Right.
I wasn't one of them.
Oh, that's a shame.
So I went home, and then like I said, I'm not sure of dates. It would have been 91, 92. I played against Great Britain for Canterbury.
Yeah.
And once again, I thought I went okay, and I got hold of the video. And I'd done the same thing again, contacted clubs over there, and Penrith showed some interest, and they said, send us the video, and they sent the video over.
Right.
Don Feltus was the CEO then, and Gus was the coach, head coach.
Yeah, they were going pretty good at that period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Don Feltus got back to me. He goes, Gus has had a look at your video, because I was playing second row then too.
Yep.
And he goes, you might make an okay reserve grade prop.
Right.
Front rower. I said, yeah, okay. He said, if you want to come over, trial with us, train with us, all good, okay. So I thought, stuff it, I'm just going to go, And I'd already got and that's it. I'd applied for a clearance then, and I'd got a clearance, there was just a transfer fee to New Zealand Rugby League because I played junior Kiwis of $15,000.
Right.
So any club that wanted to sign me had to pay 15 grand. I don't know whether I told Penrith that or not. Anyway, so I thought I'd stuff it. And paid my own way to Australia and stayed with my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And he lived in, so what year was that? That must have been the end of 92.
Yeah.
And he lived not far from North Sydney Oval.
Oh, sweet.
And I walked down to North Sydney Oval one day and they've got a little North office in there. And I went in there and there's a guy called Pat Jarvis.
Right.
He was used to play for North, the front rower.
I think I know the name, actually.
Yeah, he played for Australia. I think he was at St George also too, but lovely bloke. And he goes, "Oh, what are you up to?" I said, "I just come over from New Zealand. I want to, try and make it in the big time."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, you got any videos, anything like that?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." So I showed him my Great Britain one.
Yeah.
And Peter Louis was the coach for North, and it was his first year. He'd come in, and he'd look at it and goes, "Oh, mate, you can, because you're here, you're not costing us anything. Yeah. Come and train with us, trial with us."
Sweet.
And so I started training with North right in the start of their off season.
Sweet as.
And so what was that, September, October, something like that. They gave me all the gears.
Yeah.
I was going, how good is this? All the North Sydney gears and bags.
Bring back the beers, just by the way.
Yeah. and mate, I was training with they would have had about, so their first grade and reserve grade squads were training, and they would have had about 5 or 6 of us who were like trialists that were invited to train with them.
Yep.
So I got in there and just trained with them, and they had a good team back then too. They like Larson and Billy Moore, and I thought I was still a back rower then.
Well, they were playing finals all the time
yeah,
in those days.
David Fairley.
Yeah.
But Peter Jackson, Mario was there. And so I trained with them up till Christmas.
Yep.
End of 92, and Peter Louis came to me and goes, "Oh, we've got this $15,000 transfer fee."
Yeah.
He goes, "I'm just sort of being honest with you. You're most welcome to stay with us and train, but you'd have to go really good for us to pay this transfer fee, and then to be able to find some money for you too."
Oh man.
He said, "Like I said, stay with us, train with us, but that's how it is. But if you want to try your luck somewhere else, you go with our blessing."
Yep.
And so I played with a guy in Doncaster who played, the second year I went over, he was a South legend, Mark Allison. He's on the South coaching staff now. And I rang up Allo, and I said, "Oh, mate, is there any chance I'd get a trial or get a go at South?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Oh, I'll ring George Piggins."
Oh.
So
only the top shelf.
Yeah. So he rings George. He rings me up. I'll pick you up. We're going to go see George. Yep. So okay. So Lurline Bay, I think it's just on the south end by Coogee. We drive into this house and go into like his garage and come out, and there's an elevator. It takes us up 3 floors of this sort of his house, and it's overlooking the Tasman Sea.
Wow.
Right there, just down from Coogee and Bondi. And
far out.
And I go, wow.
Yeah.
And takes us into this room, and here's George, and sit down, and I could smell this chlorine and that, and I look over, there's this bloody indoor swimming pool on the other side.
Stop it.
Yeah, because George was a self-made millionaire. He the lifts that used to come down on the back of trucks that went up and down, they would fold down. And he invented those.
That's
I think
amazing.
It was. Yeah, and painted them and did real well.
He would have.
Yeah. So Mark recommended me to George, and George, same thing. He said, "Well, we've got money in our cap." He said, "You're here, you're not going to cost us nothing, so just start training with our guys and see how you go. If it goes okay, the $15,000 is, we've got plenty of money in the cap and that."
Wow. So you had a bit of a salary cap back then, eh? I mean, it was nothing like what it is today.
But, no, but yeah.
But it was livable money back then.
Well, salary, yeah. Well, back then, it was only the top 2 or 3 players in each club that were actually full-time professional.
Oh, really?
Most of the other guys all had jobs.
All had jobs. Yeah. So were you one of those, obviously?
Yeah.
What were you doing?
Well, I had a few different jobs. So when I first moved over, I had a baby on the way.
Okay.
My first child. So first thing I did was go out and get a job.
Good man.
And had to get an income, and that was the thing too. If footy didn't work out, I was just going to give it a go over there and working and that. So yes, I did furniture removals for a wee while. It's hard work over there when you're going up 4 or 5 flights of stairs. I worked on a concrete pump.
Yeah.
Once again, real physical work. I remember this when I was training in Norse. A couple of days, I'd been 8 hours on a bloody big hose, pouring piers and stinking 40-degree heat and that. And I got sunstroke a couple of times and couldn't go to training, too sick.
Oh, wow.
And then I did a little bit of driving, some truck driving for a little bit too and that.
It must have been a good payoff though, like finally getting your break.
That's all I wanted, Yeah, so that's all I wanted someone to give me an opportunity.
Yeah.
And so then I was pretty driven, pretty motivated at South, so I wanted to give it my best shot. And so I just trialled with South. And like I said, back then there was about 4 or 5 of us. And I remember they said to 3 of us, because we were just trialling reserve grade back then, There was 3 of us said, come in for a meeting, we want to sign you. And we were all in this little room.
Yeah.
First one goes in, they sign him, he comes out. He didn't say nothing. I was the last one. Another guy, Peter Baumgart, he went in, come out, and I said, because I didn't know nothing, All I wanted was an opportunity.
Yep.
Someone paid my transfer fee, and I'm happy. I'll just give it my best. And he come out and he goes, "Oh, mate, if you can get $5,000, you're doing all right."
Right.
I thought, yeah, sweet, $5,000. I'll be happy with $5,000. And I went in there, met Terry Parker. He was the CEO. He goes, we had to do a bit of a deal with New Zealand Rugby League with this transfer fee because $15,000. So it's nothing to snare at. Then he said, so we're going to pay $5,000 up front, and if you play first grade, we have to pay another $5,000, and if you play 6 games the first year, we'll play the whole lot type thing. This is what he told me. I said, oh yeah, okay, so there's not much money left for you in that. I said, oh yeah, okay, well, I'll play for nothing. I just want an opportunity.
Right.
And he goes, so all we can offer you is $15,000. Where do I sign?
Oh, take that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
But he said to me, because of the transfer fee, they signed me on an option.
Right.
Yeah, which I didn't have a manager. I didn't know much about options, but I said, what's the option? He goes, if you go okay, we want to have a contract in place for the next year, for 1994.
Yep. I
said, okay. And he goes, if we want to keep you, we're going to give you $70,000.
Whoa.
Okay, how good is it? What? He goes,
pretty good money.
I thought, wow, Jesus Christ. Yeah. I've been playing for nothing at home. I think when I went to when I went to England, I got about £2,000 for a season, which I was happy with there.
Wow.
And he's going, so your option is $70,000. I said, okay, I didn't know. Yeah, I'll just sign it and that.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, I was happy. I lined up in reserve grade. Actually that year, because they had the pre-season cup, which was the Tooheys Challenge. I got a start in the first grade team. They had a couple of injuries, and I went and played one game in the Tooheys Challenge. Well, it wasn't the first grade. Well, it's first grade team, but you don't classify it as a first grade. So I thought, wow, this was huge.
Yep.
It was fast. It was physical. It was nothing like I'd ever played before. But wow,
definitely different.
Yeah. But then I was a reserve grader. Our front rowers in first grade were Spud, Mark Carroll.
Yeah. You had Sean Garlick in the hooking.
Yeah. Yep. The other main front row was Peter Johnson.
Yes.
I don't know whether you remember Jono, but Jono was he was rated as the biggest hitter, one of the biggest hitters back then. And he was a good player. And there was a couple other fringe players that props there. So I just started out in reserve grade, and I think I played 7 or 8 games and got a call up. I think one of the front rowers was injured. Jono, I think it was. And so I got to start off the bench. Back then, so you had, I sat on the bench a few times because you used to only have 2 reserves for first grade, but they'd pick about half a dozen guys from the reserve grade game to sit on the bench because you could make about 6 changes, I think it was, but only 2 fresh reserves.
Right.
So I sat on the bench a couple of times without getting on, which you didn't really want to because you've just about played a full game in reserve grade. You were knackered, and if you got the call up to go out there, you'd be still cold and tired and bruised, and I thought, wow,
We're sort of cooled down by then.
Yeah. But I got on the 15 this one. I've started on the bench against Parramatta and
working.
And I come on for about the last 20 minutes, and so my debut was it was just the highlight.
It's pretty sweet, isn't it?
Then, because
you've come around the long way to get there. Yeah.
Because you see it on TV and that, and it just seems so far away. You don't know whether you're good enough and that.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Here I am, and we played Parramatta. We got a win. I got a try.
Nice on debut. How good's that?
And I thought I went okay.
Yep.
It was a televised match where there's only 3 games televised back then. Yep. And it was a Friday night game, and Hugh McGahn from TVNZ came in and interviewed me after the game.
Oh, how good's that?
So, I was on a huge high.
I bet you were.
Until I went to training on Tuesday, and I was back in reserve grade.
Back you go, Tim.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So 94 rolled around, and you were more of a permanent member of that first grade squad?
Yeah, well, I'll take you back to 93. So
right.
I'd only played about 4 or 5 games. Actually, I only played 7 or 8 games that first year.
Okay.
It took me till about round 8 or something to break into first grade, and then I missed about the last 5 games because I'd done an ankle. Oh. But I would have played about 4 or 5 games, and I got this phone call from a player manager.
Yep.
And he goes, "Oh, what are you doing for next year? Because I've got a club interested in signing you."
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, I've got this option with South. I don't know what's an option." And sort of told him about it. He goes, "Oh, that could prove a little bit difficult to get out of."
Sticky.
Anyway, he hooked me up with the club, which was Western Suburbs.
Oh, sweet. They were going well back then, weren't they?
They spent a lot of money, and Warren Ryan was the coach.
Did they have Stephen Kearney back then? I think they might have been there.
Yeah. He would have been there, because he went over before me, Mooks,
Yeah.
But Warren Ryan was the Wayne Bennett of today. He was the coach back in the day.
He was.
And yes, I had a meeting with him, and I was a bit overawed because, look, it's the Wayne Bennett of rugby league. I've been playing football in Christchurch 6 months earlier. And he goes, "Oh, I'm keen to sign you." No, actually, sorry, I'm keen to sign you. And so just jog my memory, the option that I signed with South wasn't for $70,000; it was for $30,000.
Right.
But which I still thought was a lot of money.
Still decent.
West came in and said, "I'll give you $70,000."
Right.
Go, what? Wow. And he said, "But you've got to get out of your option."
Okay.
I said, "Okay." And so end of 93, they had a bit of a shake-up with the management at South. And Alan Jones come in as our football manager.
Yep.
And he said, "You've got to go meet with Jonesy and bloody tell him you're not happy and get out." Because I did struggle. When I first went to South, like I'd moved over there with nothing.
Yep.
Had to set up a house and furniture and everything. I had... So my ex-wife and her children, we had to set up a house for them and that, and everything. And back then, you only got you got your contract money in 2 payments.
Right.
Once at the start of the year, well, halfway through the year, I think it was, and then the end of the year.
Okay.
So I had to virtually get my contract money up front type thing and that, and South didn't sort of really help that much, I didn't think. They could have been a little bit better because it was a battle, working full time, setting up a house and all this sort of stuff.
Yep.
So I went to Alan Jones, had a meeting with him, and said, he goes, "Well, we want to take up the option, and we're quite within our rights to do so. But if you're not happy, what's the point of keeping you type thing and that." And I must have said, because at the end of the year, I must have said, "I'm going home in a couple of weeks or something, sort of sort out, just for a holiday back to Christchurch, sort of sort out a few things or whatever, I'm not sure, a bit dismayed with Sydney." And he goes, "Well, if you want out, we'll give you a release."
Okay.
I said, "Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, no, that's what I want to do." And I went home, rung Warren Ryan. He come around with the contract. I signed this contract for $70,000. It was just a 1-year contract.
Right.
And I thought, "Oh, how good is this? 70 grand. And then the next day I went to work, and I bloody heard something on the radio because in Sydney, Rugby League's forefront and everything over there.
That's number one.
Somehow it got out that I'd signed for Wests.
Okay.
Next thing, the phone rings. Alan Jones.
Uh-oh.
Terry, you need to come and see me.
Oh, no.
And so, yeah, he went and seen Jonesy, and he said, I thought you wanted to go home. I didn't think you liked Sydney and that, I thought we were releasing you to go home. He said, but you're not signing for another club. Because I hadn't had the release in writing yet either. Okay. It was only the next day.
Oh, no.
Because if you're going to play in Sydney, you play for us for next year.
Right.
I said, okay. He goes, what did they offer you? And I said, 70 grand. He goes, I'll match it.
Really?
Yeah.
And he did?
Yeah.
Oh, how good.
Yeah. And I was glad I did because 94 was a real good year for South.
You guys went really well.
Yeah, and we won the pre-season cup, which was the Tui's Challenge.
That's right. And you played the Broncos, didn't you?
Played the Broncos, yeah. And the Broncos were the team.
They were the creme de la creme of rugby league, fresh off 2 premierships.
They were full of Australian rep players.
Willie Kahn, Steve Renouf, Alan Lang, you name it. Yeah. They had them all.
They had them all.
Yeah.
So, just to beat them was a great game. We were a young team. We'd lost a lot of players from the previous year. Mark Carroll had gone to Manly.
That's right.
Michael Andrews was our captain. He had retired, and we just brought in a lot of young guys.
Kiwis joined you though.
Yeah. Paul Torrance-Smith was always there.
Gene Narma, did he come over that year?
No, he did. Yeah, but I think he might have been a little bit later, was he?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Well, later in the year. He didn't play in the Tui's Challenge.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, as you know, he'd signed with the Warriors, so Manly released him.
Right.
So he had 1 year to fill in, so he came and played for us.
Up at South. Right. And then you had even Joe Faimalo.
Yes.
Played over there with you guys.
Yeah. Well, there was a Warren Ryan.
Yeah.
When I'd met with him previous, when I told him that Jonesy won't release me now, and that, he said, "Oh, well, have you got any decent players back home there?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm going home next week." I said, "And the grand final's on."
Right.
He said, "I'm coming." I said, yeah. He said, "Okay." So I took him to the local grand final here. Yeah. And it was a Hornby-Horsell game, and he picked out about 5 players that he wanted to sign.
Right.
Just on train and trial contracts, which I would have jumped at. I had to do it the hard way. For these guys, it was going to be easy.
Right.
And Brent Stewart, he'd been playing in the curtain raise, I think it was, for Addington.
Yep.
And Joe Faimalo, I'm not sure how Joe got involved, but these are just names. So he actually signed about 7 guys train and trial contracts that day.
Wow.
From Canterbury.
Just like that.
Okay. Most of them pulled out apart from Stewie and Joe.
Right.
Yeah. And so they went to Wests.
Yep. Yeah, Brent Stewart played for West. Yeah.
Yep. And Joe, something happened with Joe too, I think. But he ended up not being happy at West, and he rang me and said, "Is there any chance I can come over to South?"
Yeah.
So I spoke to Jonesy and said, yeah, we'll give him a go on that. He played mainly reserve grade, but he debuted this day at Canberra on the wing. Yeah. And Joe's a front rower.
Not a winger.
He's super quick, Joe. Yeah. Super quick. And he debuted on the wing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And he was sort of finding his way there and that, And then he left. Yeah. He got an opportunity back here with that national cup.
Oh, the Lion Red Cup.
Lion Red Cup.
That's the one. And then he went over to the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Lion Red Cup was quite big back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite good. So, you guys did quite well. I think you finished in 9th, so you had quite a successful year, but you missed the finals.
Mate, we were in because it was top 5 playoffs back then. I do remember we were in the 5 for quite a while. We got hammered in our first game by Newcastle, I think it was. Might have even been because I played in Andrew John's.
That was Andrew Johnson's debut, and he scored like 26 points or something.
So I think they caned us, but we went pretty good because we did have a few other players. Jason Sinclair came over.
Yep.
Was Mark McGaw there? Or was he later on? Was he in 98?
Not sure.
But we had...
You had Darryl Trindle?
Tricky Trindle, David Penner, Jason Bell.
David Penner was an amazing player. He was very good.
They'd come over from Parramatta.
Yep.
And plus we had a couple of guys, same scenario, who were going to the Reds. Yep. They had a year.
Western
like
Reds.
Dean Skiffaletti.
Yeah.
He was from Illawarra. Yep. And Brett Goldspink.
Yep.
So they came and played with us, and they were good acquisitions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we had a good squad that year.
Pretty good season. You pretty much started the whole year.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Big season.
And I was lucky because when I signed with Wests, Warren Ryan gave me a piece of advice. He said, I'll sign you now for 2 or 3 years if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But he said, I'll give you a little tip. He said, just sign for 1 year because so this is for the 94 season, because in 1995 there's 3 new teams coming in.
That's right.
Warriors, the Reds, Perth Reds, and the Cowboys.
Yep.
And he goes, mate, there's not enough front rows around. So he said, mate, and some of the highest paid players at the moment front rows, like Paul Harrigan and Glenn Lazarus.
Yep.
He said, his front rows and centres, there's not enough of them.
That's
in
right.
that.
Top up these.
So he said, if you want to back yourself to play well in 1994, he said, mate, you could be in demand.
Yeah.
You could make some good money.
Yep.
So that's when I signed 1 year with West, which didn't happen because South maybe stayed at.
Right.
So I had 1 year South in 94, then I'd gone quite well, and there was a little bit of interest from other clubs.
Yeah, did you get much interest from those new clubs, or did Phil Gould come knocking? How did that all come about going to the Roosters?
Well, so I did have a manager by then. This was Sam Ayub. He was the one that rang me about the West deal. He helped me out there. So Sam had said that the kids spoke to the Cowboys and they were interested, but then they went cold.
Right.
But anyway, I went to Bulldogs were keen.
Yeah.
And I went to meet with Chris Anderson, who was the coach.
Really?
Yeah, and he lovely bloke, and they were quite successful. They were a good, strong team. And I was interested going there.
Well, just quickly, Jason Hetherington, he would have been happy if you went there, because I actually messaged him yesterday and I was yakking to him. And he said, because I said I was talking to you today. And he says, Terry, he smashed my shoulder playing against him, so it would have been nice if you went and played with him instead of against him. He said, you're a very hard man to tackle. And he actually smashed his shoulder.
I remember because you used to try and pick out the hookers when it comes to running at guys, because you either look at the front rows or back rowers, and or a hooker or a half. Well, you don't really get at the halves very often, but so you pick out a hooker to run at, and I remember trying to run in at Jason a few times. Bulldogs interested. And then Chris Anderson sort of said, yeah, okay. He said, well, I don't do the money side of it and that, but the Bullfrog, Peter Moore, he was the CEO. He said, I'll talk to him and see, he can do a deal with you or whatever if you're interested. I said, okay. And then the next day or whatever, my manager had hooked me up with a meeting with Nick Politis.
Oh, wow.
From the Roosters.
Yep, big fish there.
Yeah. And I went and met with Nick. Mark Murray was the coach there, actually, and he was the coach that I'd gone over for that trial in 91 or something, and he didn't select me.
Interesting. Full circle moment.
And he was the coach then, and I don't know whether it was him that recommended me to Nick. I suppose he must have. And so I went and met with Nick Politis, and Nick just made me an offer too good to refuse.
That's nice.
And which was great.
Yep.
And Gus wasn't the coach then. Mark Murray was the coach.
Okay.
And so I signed with the Roosters, which when I look back on, the Bulldogs won the premiership in '95.
They did indeed.
Yeah. So
what could have been?
I done myself out of a ring there, but I love my time with the Roosters. I learned the most I've ever learnt under Gus, because they just after I signed into '94, they got rid of Mark Murray and signed Gus.
And he took Penrith to their first comp and back-to-back grand finals in 1991.
Right.
Yeah, and he just seemed to be the coach who was making all the right moves. And he's big on player development and bringing through juniors, building strong pathways.
Yeah.
And the Roosters have always been pretty successful, really. Yeah,
but it was funny, when I signed with Nick for the Roosters, there was players he signed after me that were on more money, but at the time he said to me I was their highest paid player.
Really?
Which I couldn't believe.
That's amazing.
18 months earlier I was in Christchurch playing club football.
That's amazing.
Which everything just happened so quickly.
Well, I suppose, like you said, the props are in hot demand, so they had to tie them down pretty quick.
That's what I go back to the advice Warren Ryan gave me.
Yeah.
So that was telling then in that situation, because your front row is your heart and soul for you go forward and that sort of stuff.
And you just come off a Kiwis tour, hadn't you? So that would have been totally in your favour.
Yeah. Well, that worked out good. That was, bit of you know, when it comes to negotiating, if you're at international, I just played my first test match in Papua New Guinea, so
right. So
how
did that go for you?
Yeah, awesome. You know, just pulling on that. Well, white jersey it was then.
Yes, it was the white with the black V, the checkered sort of V. Is that the one?
Yep.
Yeah.
But no, everyone's just unreal playing for New Zealand. Yeah.
And what was the stand for Papua New Guinea back then?
They were okay.
Yeah.
They were okay. They had 2 or 3 that were playing in the NRL.
Yep.
Our halfback of the Roosters, Adrian Lamb, was their captain.
Oh, legend.
And I think they had David Wesley was a front rower.
Yes.
Bruce Mamando maybe, back rower. But like I said, there was 3 or 4 that were playing in the NRL. And at home, they were hard to beat.
Yeah.
Very physical as any game you're playing. They just love the contact and that sort of stuff. And it's their national sport. Yeah. So they've got great support behind them and that.
Yeah.
And I was just in awe anyway, just being on the Kiwi tour.
Some pretty big names in that Kiwi team.
Yeah. But see, I was I was a little bit old. I didn't make my debut first grade until I was 25 then.
Right.
So the next year I was a 26-year-old Kiwi. So I wasn't one of the young ones, but I was obviously inexperienced at that level. Hadn't played for New Zealand before and that, but I didn't. I sort of still one of the older heads type thing. But
did you find because of that, like even going to Souths in '93 and '94, did you get that respect straight away from your teammates, or did you have to earn your stripes even though you're a little bit older?
I had to earn my stripes.
Yeah.
I remember even just going to Norse. Because Aussies a little bit different. Like we're a pretty friendly bunch, the Kiwis.
Yeah.
Aussies gave me nothing.
Right.
I'd go to training at Norse, and even for a wee while at South, and no one to talk to you, sort of thing, And you just head down and just do the business of training and that. It wasn't until you can play football, earn their respect, show them what you can do, and that you're up to it, that they'll actually accept you.
Wow.
Type thing. So
different now.
So it wasn't easy because I was a nobody either too. Like no, I hadn't played any football at any level really. You know, I played 4 games for Canterbury, played junior Kiwis 1 year, and hadn't done nothing in the previous 4 years type thing. You know, so it was difficult, but I didn't care because I was pretty focused then.
Yep.
I just had my first daughter, and I was motivated to provide.
Absolutely. Did you find it was different at the Roosters being a good paid prop? You got some experience now. You've been on a Kiwi tour. All of a sudden, you're one of the big boys at the club.
Yep, definitely. 93 at South. Like I was young buck. Even though I was 25, I was raw.
Yeah.
I was still raw when I got to the Roosters because I'd sort of changed my style of football.
Right.
Like I was a wide-ranging back rower who used to score a few tries and set up a few tries. Now I'm just a front rower who just hits it up, makes as much yardage as I can, and tries to get fast play the ball. That was the job that I
That was your
picked.
thing.
Yeah. No coach said to me, do this, but I knew at that level that style of play was in demand.
And you had a handy player called Brad Fittler who could play off the back of that.
Yeah. Freddie came over in I don't think he was there in 95.
No, he was 96.
He came over in 96. Him and Matt Singh come from Penrith.
Because they went to Super League. You know, the Panthers, they signed with Super League. So they come over to ARL where they signed. Yeah. I'm very curious to know how that all went down from your perspective, the whole Super League war, how you got aligned. Like, were you still signed with the Roosters for 97 already? Or was it you had to redo all your contracts back then? How did that work?
Just insane. Super League was horrible.
Yeah.
It just split everybody. It just got everybody bitching and arguing and made everybody greedy.
Yeah.
And it was a horrible time. Yeah. But people will look at it and say, so the highest paid players went from earning 250k to 650k overnight. Just like that, overnight type thing. So, it first broke around 95.
Yeah.
The Super League. End of 95 maybe. And I'd signed 3 years at the Roosters, 95, 96, 97.
Yep.
And, then it all broke about how the Super League was coming in and signing players and all that. And Graham Lowe rang me. He was working for Super League.
Yep.
And he said, I want to have a meeting with you about, what's going on. I said, oh, yeah, okay. And I was just going in for a surgery on knee, so it was the end of the season. Must have been end of '94.
Okay.
Yeah, end of '94. So I'm not sure anyway. And then might have been '90. I can't remember. But then I had the surgery, and I was on my way home, and Gus rings me.
Yep.
And Gus was a negotiator for the Australian Rugby League, so there was a Super League and the Australian Rugby League. And he goes, "Oh, Hermo, so has anybody rung you from Super League and that?" I said, "Well, actually, Graham Lowe rang me this morning." He goes, "You're not going to go there, are you?" I said, "Well, I don't want to, because I'd signed 3 years.
Right.
I don't even think I'd played my first year at the Roosters.
Right.
And I didn't want to go anywhere. I had good club, good coach. I didn't want to move. I was in a good spot in the eastern suburbs.
Damn right.
He goes, "You don't want to go anywhere, do you?" I said, "Well, not really." He goes, "Okay, I'll give you $100,000 just as a bonus." So what? He goes, "Yeah, $100,000 as a bonus. Come up and I'll give you the check." So he was in the Australian Rugby ARL offices in town. I was on the way home from North Shore back to the eastern suburbs. And anyway, I said, "Oh wow, okay."
Too easy.
Yeah. But then my manager rang me. He said, "Oh, has Gus rung you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What do you offer you?" I said, "Oh, $100,000. Did you ring him back, tell him, and I'm going to do your deal for you. I'll give you another $25,000. I said, "Okay." But he did anyway. And I just thought, so I got $125,000 just as a sign on, just as a bonus on top of what my contract money was, obviously. But there was other guys that got heaps more than me. And most of the guys that win Super League,
they were mega bucks.
Mega bucks. They got all loyalty payments plus their contracts quadrupled or tripled or whatever, you know. But like I said, it wasn't always about the money. We always want to earn as much as you can, but I was at a club I was happy with.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to learn under Gus, and that'd be better for my football and that.
Yeah, I think the clubs that did stay with ARL, and the players in particular, they were those type of players, weren't they?
Yeah.
Just very loyal to the game. And because it was such a damaging time.
It was, because I was disappointed that the Warriors signed Super League 2 and New Zealand Rugby League.
Yep.
So, I think there was a World Cup in '95. So I went to Papua New Guinea in '94 with the Kiwis. '95 was the World Cup.
Correct.
I think it was. And I missed out selection for that.
Uh-huh.
And then from '96 and '97, us Kiwis that were ARL aligned couldn't play for the Kiwis.
Now, why is that? Because I did read that, but why did they stop you? And so I would have thought aligning with the current competition would have been in your favour, but apparently it wasn't.
No, because New Zealand Rugby League has signed Super League.
Right. Oh, of course. So they went to Super League.
They went to Super League, So they played in a So they tried to get the Super League up for 1996. The Australian Rugby League got a court injunction up and stopped it going ahead for '96. So players had actually gone to their clubs and they'd set up, and then it was late. It was like February or something, and they canned the Super League for '96.
Yep.
And I was at the Roosters. We got Tony Oro back because he was going to Mariners. We got a guy called Tim Madison back. Maddo was a good player. Might have even been a couple of others, but they came back.
There's a few sat the season out too. I think Gordon Tallis, he sat the season out before going to the Broncos for things like that. It was pretty crazy stuff.
It was crazy. And in '97, as you know, it was a Super League year, and they had 2 Australian teams that year. So there was a Super League Australian team who played against the Kiwis. Yep. Or did they play against the Kiwis?
Yeah, they had
they had that tri-series.
With State of Origin, and it was pretty weird, but it was interesting as a fan. And you had more leagues, so to speak, but different rules, and it was it was weird.
Super League brought in some new rules.
If you scored, you kicked off, and there's lots of weird, strange rules. Yeah,
and we and the ARL had an Australian Rugby League team, and they had no one to play against, so they picked a rest of the world ARL team.
That's right, they did, and you were in that team, weren't you?
Yeah, and they actually they went to England and signed a couple of Pommy players too. Right. So Gary Connolly and Jason Robinson.
Oh, legend.
Yeah. Well, they come out and played in this rest of the world game.
Wow.
We had an okay team.
Yep.
Craig Innes, Jared McCracken, Jason Lowry, Craig Smith, Adrian Lamb.
Decent side.
Yeah.
And you and Larry were both front row partners at the Roosters.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. So when we were talking about the Roosters before, we made the finals in 1996.
Yep.
But the last week of the regular season, or might have been the second to last match of the regular season, me and Jason Lowry both broke our arms.
That's right, because I saw you didn't play in those finals.
No.
Yeah, I was like, that's a shame.
And we'd done quite well. I think we were in the top 4.
Yeah.
So we got 2 bites of the cherry.
Right.
So we lost both.
You lose to Manly and the Dragons.
We did.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And we were, I think, 1996 for a while there. We actually had a record for most consecutive wins.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it was, but
I do know one stat too. I'm a bit of a geek, but 1995, you were the side that stopped Manly's 15-game winning streak from the start of the season.
Okay.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
You didn't. You played in the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Manly with their
They were unbelievable.
They were the team.
They were.
Yeah. So that was always good to try and you were going well if you could beat them.
Yeah.
So
they only lost about 3 games, and one of them was like the grand final.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bulldogs come from nowhere and pinched the grand final.
Oh, right.
Terry Lamb in his last game. So good.
Okay.
So good. Yes. So 97 though, you guys, you went all the way to the prelim.
Yeah.
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 It's a good season.
Well,
you finally got to play finals too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But once again, that was the Super League year.
Yeah.
So there was 2 competitions. Yeah, we went good, the Roosters. And, we went all the way. I think we lost to Manly.
You did, by a point.
In the major semi-final.
Yeah.
Lost by 1 point, so we missed out on making the grand final by 1 point. Craig Field, who obviously played with the South.
That's right.
He got a field goal.
He did.
And, Manly were like I said, they were the team back then.
Yeah.
And they were favoured to win that grand final, but that was the year that Newcastle,
Darren Albert on the buzzer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Won their first ever grand final.
Unreal.
Yeah.
But you played the Gold Coast Chargers in one of the finals. Who knew the Chargers would ever be in a playoff match?
Once again, it's 2 competitions.
Well, you only had 12 teams, if I'm correct.
12, was it? Okay.
Something like that. And what was it like, though, having a comp with only like half the teams? Was it weird? Or did it not matter to you guys? You're just business, just play whoever's in front of you?
Business as usual type thing. You know, you would like to be playing against everybody because you watch some of the other football and that, and they had the Broncos and the Bulldogs and some good teams.
You guys had Manly, and Parramatta, the Doggies.
They were both pretty even competitions and that.
Yeah.
But obviously sort of tarnished it a little bit if you're successful because it's not everybody.
Exactly.
And so I remember Gold Coast, because I think they made the semis, and I think they won their first game in the semis. Yeah,
because you played them in the second round of the playoffs.
Second round, yeah.
Yeah, I think you gave Norths a touch-up in the first round of playoffs. Yeah, I think you beat Norths, off the top of my head. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we beat Gold Coast.
And
Did we have to play Norths again?
I think you played Norths and you beat them, and then you played Gold Coast. You gave them a bit of a touch-up, like 30-10, and then you lost by a point to Manly. Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
Right.
Yeah. So close to a grand final, mate.
Yeah. No, I would have loved to have played in a grand final.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of players that haven't. Plenty of good players that haven't. But it's what you play for every year.
Absolutely.
It's those finals and grand final at the end of the year and that.
Yeah.
So.
And then 98 rolled around. You signed with South Sydney. So what made you go back to South Sydney?
Well, I got a bit greedy actually.
Yeah.
So I'd had some good years. I played some good football at the Roosters, and in 1996 I was the Player of the Year. Wow. I was won the Jack Gibson medal, and there's been a few Kiwis that have won the Jack Gibson. Well, all Player of the Year. I think Jack Gibson medal only came in the 90s, but there was like Hugh McGahn and Gary Freeman and Kurt Sherlock who had won the Player of the Year for the Roosters, but it wasn't the Jack Gibson medal back
with
then.
These guys.
And Jason Lowry, my propping partner, he had won it the 2 years before me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I played some good football, and I thought I was probably worth more than I was getting offered.
Right.
So I so 97, I would have been 30. When I signed for the Roosters in 95, I was 27, a 3-year contract. I thought, that'll just about take me out. I won't play much after 30.
30 was the number back then.
Yeah,
that was the number.
So, and I'd changed managers. I had Greg Keenan, who was my manager. He was actually a player I played with the South.
Yeah.
But he'd done a law degree and was doing a good job coming out, starting up. He's still involved in player manager me now, but he does a lot of soccer players in Europe and all that, Keno.
Wow.
So he said to me, he talked to the Roosters, and the Roosters said, yeah, we're going to sign Terry for 98, but I only want to do a 1-year deal.
Yep.
And he sort of said, I think we can get something else, a bit more money and maybe a 2-year deal and that, blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, yeah, okay. And so we knocked back the Roosters offer. And then I struggled to get anything else. Bloody couldn't, I couldn't. And then South were the only club that showed some interest.
Right.
And it was actually less money than what the Roosters had offered me. But so I went back to South 1998.
Yep.
And I thought that was just my bonus year.
Yep.
And mate, we had a reasonable season. We had a pretty good team. And I've seen something on Facebook not long ago, but I didn't even realise I played in the first ever NRL game.
You did, and you scored the match-winning try against the Warriors off a Sean Garlick bust. Who's backing up? Bloody Terry Hermansson. How good's that?
Because I've seen it on one of those footy shows.
Yeah.
They said, who was the first ever try scorer in an NRL match?
Yeah.
And I thought, I've got no idea. And then the game popped up, and it was South versus Warriors. And I thought, hold on, I played in that game.
It was at Ericsson
And I
Stadium.
watched it, and they go, hold on, I scored a try in that game. And then I went, no, I wasn't the first try scorer.
You weren't the first try scorer, but you got the last try that won the game at 18 all.
I think it was 18 all.
Yeah.
About 5 minutes to go.
Unbelievable. You got some toe, man.
Well, like I said, I was a centre for a wee while. I actually did a bit of athletics back in the day, and when I was at high school, I was the Canterbury champion in 100-metre hurdles.
Yeah.
Under 15, I actually had a record, a Canterbury record, but it wasn't recognised because it was wind assisted. But I did have some toe, but as you get bigger and carry more weight, you're not as fast. But
oh wow! So you got to the end of '98, and you actually it was just a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
And then the Adelaide Rams come knocking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, once again, I thought I was just about be me. I'm 31 now. And then my manager come to me and said, hey, Adelaide Rams are keen to sign you.
Yeah.
And it was good money.
Yeah.
2 years.
Well, they weren't going so flash, were they? So they were looking for someone with a bit of experience.
Yeah. And they were obviously one of the Super League clubs, so I wasn't involved in any Super League in that, but obviously it wasn't. They'd come back together then. But I think, like Adelaide and Melbourne, I think the Broncos maybe too, they were still funded by News Limited, which is the Super League owners and that.
Yeah, because they set up the Storm from parts from Hunter Mariners and the Western Reds.
Yeah,
they pretty much were the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so they come in and made me a good offer, and I thought, I've got to do it.
Yeah.
So went to Adelaide end of 1998, moved to Adelaide, was there for about 2 months. Loved Adelaide actually. Yeah. Because it's very similar to Christchurch.
Beautiful place, isn't it?
Yeah. And I actually thought back then, I thought I could settle here after I finished playing.
Wow.
And then there was still a hierarchy with the NRL, still talking and that, because they had too many teams.
Uh-huh.
So at the end of that year, 1998, they decided to cut 2 teams, and it was Adelaide and Gold Coast.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got told just before Christmas that we were disbanding.
Wow.
And we were owned by News Limited, and they said they'll honour everybody's contracts. They were real good.
Okay.
And said, and we'll find your clubs. Okay. And if we can't, we'll just pay you anyway.
Good deal.
Yeah. And so Mel Meninga rang me up. He was at Canberra.
That's handy.
Yeah. And he said, I want to get you over Raiders. And
really?
I said, oh, wow, okay. I said, okay, I'm not sure yet. Can I sort of get back to you on that, And then Hugh McGahn rang me.
Yeah.
He was at the Warriors then. And he said, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. He was interested in that. And, well, Hugh was actually there at the Roosters when I signed there too. So he was on the board of the Roosters, and now he's football manager at the Warriors and that. So, yeah, like Hugh, he's a good bloke. And then Laurie Daly rings me. And he said, so I was a bit torn on that, So I thought, mate, I'm just going to... So they sort of said that no one was getting any more than what their contract was.
Right.
But the Warriors said to me they'd give me a car. So that's what swayed me.
Sealed the
So
deal.
a car swayed me. A little Jap import, Nissan Bluebird, I think it was, and that swayed me.
That's what it was. A Japanese Nissan Bluebird got you to the Warriors.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, pretty much that was it. So yeah, and plus, I thought it was a good opportunity to come home, come back to New Zealand, and to be honest, that's where I enjoyed my football the most.
Oh, look,
Playing with all the brothers back at the Warriors.
The fans were so happy to have Big Terry finally playing in a Warriors jersey. It was so good to see you running out. Yeah.
Well, I was a little bit. Never used to like the Warriors. There was always this Canterbury Auckland thing, you
right,
know.
of course. Yeah.
And plus, I'd been in Sydney 93, 94, and the Warriors' first year was 95.
Yeah. Was there any interest?
No,
really?
nothing. So I was a little bit.
Yeah, you would be annoyed. A bit miffed. Yeah.
Nothing, no interest at all, you know. No. So back then, any Kiwi that used to play against the Warriors would always play well.
Yeah.
You were motivated to play well because you know, they didn't want me, type thing like that, you know.
Oh, wow.
And I think it was probably about my first 4 or 5 games against the Warriors I actually scored tries. And I don't score many tries. No. Well, they keep talking about tries, don't we?
Oh, you got a few, mate. You got a few. I think you got about 11 or 12 in your NRL career.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about my first game. I scored a try. Yeah. The winning try in the first ever NRL game. Yes. Mate, I'm a bloody legend.
No, that's right, yeah.
No. But, yeah, so come back to the Warriors, and like I said, I just love playing with the boys. Kiwi boys we're just brothers, you know. Well, we're just so much tighter than all the Aussies. I love Aussies. Australia's a beautiful place, great place.
But you got the culture.
Gave me the opportunity, but you did right, the culture.
And you've got Māori ancestry.
Yes, Ngāti Porou.
Yeah,
East
so
Coast.
Very much slip in very comfortably.
Yeah.
And the Warriors are very different to every other club. It's about whānau, it's about family. And everyone's welcomed. None of this got to earn your stripes to, you know, not speaking to players. It's very welcoming.
Yeah,
you know,
And we're all more grounded.
Yeah.
Too, you know, like in Australia, some of these young guys that are, you know, earmarked from 15, 16. It's not their fault, but they come into grade and everybody's talked them up.
Yep.
So they've got a higher opinion maybe of what they really should have of themselves type thing. And, you know, it's easy. So Kiwis don't have that.
Well, they come from very humble beginnings, a lot of them, don't they?
Most of the Aussies do too, I suppose. But it's those, once you come out of school and all that, you know, because rugby league's the game, especially in Sydney, you put on a bit of a pedestal at a young age. Yeah. Whereas, like, we don't get that in the league in New Zealand.
No. But thanks to the Warriors and largely players like Stacey Jones and Sean Johnson, they've really, and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, like little kids, they look at them, they go, I want to be that.
Yeah.
And that's awesome for the game over here.
Yeah.
And then the whole up the wires thing, that's all really caught on. That's massive.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, it's great.
Awesome.
But speaking of try scoring, 1998, you got selected for the Anzac Test.
Wow, that's another one. Yes.
That's another great try you scored in a winning game. I think it was the Paul brothers, a sort of a shift out to the left, and then a short ball back on the inside. Yeah. Who's there? Terry Hermansson, smashing his way through Darren Lockyer, I believe, and getting the ball down.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that for you, mate?
I've been lucky. I've had many highlights.
That's a pretty decent one.
But that's probably top of the pile. 1998 Anzac Test against Australia.
Yep.
And this was the first year after the Super League War.
That's right.
So
first combined teams back together.
So Australia had, in 1997, had 2 very strong Australian teams, the Super League and an
Darren Lockyer
ARL
on the bench. That's a joke.
Yeah. But Robbie O'Davis was the fullback. He was just about the player of the comp back then. He was brilliant. Yeah.
He had Andrew Johns at halfback. You know,
it was just trying to squeeze everybody in for them. I think they had 2s at hooker.
Yep, they did.
Yeah, no, they had a very strong Australian team.
And you guys beat them.
Yeah.
I remember watching that. I was like 14.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Oh, what a win.
So we played at North Harbour Stadium. I'm sure it was a Friday night.
Yep.
I think I scored the try that put us in the lead for the first time.
Yeah, it was in the second half.
Yeah, Kevin Ira got 2 tries and he scored a late one
that
won it for us.
Yeah.
But I remember because, we don't beat Australia very often.
I think it's been like 7 years since you'd beaten them. Yeah.
And it was a Friday night. You come off after a victory like that and you're just so pumped and how huge it was. Went back to the hotel. Yeah. I think I had a couple of glasses of champagne and then I went to bed because I had to bloody catch a plane at 8 o'clock the next morning back to Sydney, and I had to play on Sunday.
Oh my goodness! Backing up.
Yeah, so it was quite weird. It's sort of like the highlight of my footy career, and you can't sort of celebrate it. But
I suppose. But you've always got that feather in the cap. You were in that team that knocked over Australia. We haven't won many Anzac Tests.
No.
So that's a big one.
I think there's only been one other one since then that we've won. Yeah.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you got that win. You played the Warriors year 2000 as well. After the Warriors got on a real roll at the end of 1999, and Mark Graham was coach.
Yeah.
And you had guys like Johnny Simon come over mid-season and sort of change the whole attack of the team. And you guys absolutely pulverised a few big sides like Newcastle. Yeah. Everyone loved that big 42-0 win. What was it like playing in that game?
Yeah, it was great because Newcastle were a class team and that, and we were sort of mid-table Warriors and that, we weren't beating many of the top teams back then. So yeah, that's. I know we did get on a bit of a roll towards the end of the season. Yeah. But yeah, that was sort of the only game that I remember. I think it rained a bit that night, so to put 42 points on Newcastle, who were...
They were shit hot.
Yeah. Was fair effort. And to hold them to blot, 42-0.
It's one of the best memories I have of the Warriors, in that era in particular. And I remember there was one particular try. I think... Was it Logan Swan put a chip over, and then Jason Death towed it ahead, and then Nigel Wagner come screaming through and scored it like a 60-metre try from
really?
Unbelievable try. Yeah. John Simon had a blinder that night. And what a team! It was pretty special to watch.
Yeah. So I think we went into the 2000 season pretty. Yeah. Thinking we could do it right.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking, because that was the year sort of when I jumped on supporting the Warriors after. Supporting the Rabbitohs and the Broncos before that because of my dad's from Brisbane and all of that. But I just love the Rabbitohs because they're always an underdog. But then I thought, no, I better start supporting the Warriors because I'm a Kiwi. And I had high hopes for your side. You signed Ivan Cleary. Yes. So you'd linked back up with him after playing at the Roosters together. You also had like Scott Coxon, Matt Spence come from West Suburbs.
Right, yep.
And... Mark Tukey was another big name who come in. Yeah, what's it like playing with old Tukes and Ivan coming in the team?
Tukes is awesome bloke. Yeah, it was great. So front rows always stick together.
Of course.
So there was me, Big Joe, and Tukes, Jerry. Yeah. You were always pretty tight. We sort of hang out together and. Yeah,
Big Jerry and Monty Betham coming through as a young fella.
Yeah. Monty. Well, Monty was actually the one who gave him my nickname.
Oh, true.
Yeah. So but he was just a young buck back then, and there was a few young. Torpy was just coming through. Henry Farfairley, Wairangi, Shantone Harpy.
Pretty stacked team, really.
Yeah,
but it didn't go very well. But the season started well. You knocked over Melbourne in round 1.
Okay.
Premiers. Yeah. But then Stacey had a broken arm, and he wasn't playing for a while.
Ah, right.
So he broke it. Actually, your final Test match playing Tonga.
Yeah. He got caught between Joe Vangana and one of the Tongans, and
that's right. Yeah,
broke his arm. Yeah, well, I missed start of that season too. I'd had some off-season knee trouble and that, and so I missed that Melbourne game, I think. And then I had to play reserve grade. It's the only reserve grade game I'd played since my second first grade game back in '94. And back then, the Warriors reserve grade was. Well, they didn't have a reserve grade. The players that didn't make the first grade team went to Brisbane. Yeah. They were our feeder team, played for Brisbane South.
Right.
Or you went to Sydney and played for Newtown.
Right, that's right, Newtown Jets back.
Yeah, Newtown Jets. Yeah. And I went over and played one game for Newtown. So it must have been, because, I'd missed, And then anyway, I'd come back in and must have been round 3 or round 4.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you one more try you scored was actually in round 8. Stacey Jones comes back. You guys are playing the Roosters, your old foe. And Stacey Jones makes like a half break. Someone's clinging onto his jersey, offloads. Guess who's backing up again? And you juggled the ball. Do you remember?
Okay.
Juggled the ball under the post. It was the try that got the Warriors ahead.
Okay.
And you guys won the game thanks to that try.
Yeah, I actually seen that game on last year on TV somewhere, and it was I got knocked out in that game.
You did in the first half. Yeah.
I knocked out Brian Fletcher, got suspended, I didn't. Well, actually, I don't think I didn't get penalised, but it was late. The game was real close.
Yep.
And it was late, and they were attacking, and I got Fletch high, accidentally, of course.
Of course.
And I didn't get penalised. He lost the ball, and we got the scrum.
Yeah.
And we sort of held onto the ball and sort of won the match.
Nice.
But I got cited after that, got suspended. So I got knocked out, I got suspended, and I scored a try.
Yeah.
In that game.
Pretty eventful game.
Yeah, and we won.
You did win. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. I was actually at work. I was working at a chicken farm back then, collecting eggs, listening to it on my Walkman on Radio Sport back in the day. I was listening to it, and I'll never forget the commentary. Like Hermansson, overthrow, you little beauty, Oh, great times. But yeah, the season didn't go so well in the end.
No.
Plus,
it's a bit different now too. Like I got knocked out, but I was able to come back on afterwards, and that doesn't happen now.
Don't happen anymore. What was it like playing under Mark Graham? Like, was he pretty tough?
Loved it. Tough, but fair. I wouldn't say over tough.
Yeah.
But as most of us back in that era, he was my idol.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic to come back and play for him. And mate, he was a good coach.
Yeah.
All the Kiwi coaches I played under, he was my best.
Really?
I think, yeah. Australian coaches are better than our coaches.
Right.
Obviously, just because of what they're exposed to.
Well, it's just such bigger over there.
Yeah. So, and Gus was by far my best coach. I rate Gus as one of the smartest brains and rugby league brains in the world. Probably him and Wayne Bennett, two smartest guys in rugby league. But so I love playing under Mark Graham.
Yeah.
Felt a bit sorry for him.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have that mental toughness.
Right.
But we still got some good results. And still learn a bit off the shark, and just what a humble and good guy he is. And
because I remember reading a news article at the start of that season. Like, I was pumped for year 2000 for the Warriors. I was thinking, we signed Ivan Cleary and Mark Tukey, and he was a cult hero from Parramatta coming in. I was like, we've got all these guns, we've got a great side. But I saw an article saying Mark said, Warriors in the playoffs or I'll quit. Now, was that true? Did he actually say that? Because that's what was in the media. And if the Warriors didn't make the finals, he was going to quit as coach.
I can't remember. There was something with him and Graham Lowe. Because Lowe was a director or a part owner back then too.
Yes. And
Lowe come out and had said some comments about how we should be winning the grand final or something like that. And something happened between him and Mark and coach.
Uh-huh.
He might have said that. I do remember something like that. Yeah. Thinking either Graham Lowe said that or Mark Graham said that.
Sure, it was Mark Graham.
Yeah.
Because he said, I finally got the players I need to go forward. Like Scott Pethybridge was another one that came in. He played a bit of fullback.
Well, that sounds like him. He'd say something like that, and he's a man of his word.
He stuck to it.
Yeah.
And then the Warriors, well, you finished up.
Yeah.
You hung up the boots, but the Warriors basically didn't exist as a club at the end of that season. Like,
scary.
What really happened there?
Well, I remember in 1999, Tainui bought the club.
Correct. Yep.
And because I'd only just come over, I didn't know much about the ownership and that sort of stuff. But I remember talking to our CEO at the time, I think it was, and he said, Tainui paid X amount of dollars for us and that, and he said, then about 3 weeks after they paid this money, I had to go to the king there or whatever and say, I need $20,000 for this month's wage bill.
You are kidding.
And he's gone, what? I've just forked out $2 million or whatever it was or something like that. Like, this is how it so they were behind the eight ball, right? What Tainui did, from what I heard, didn't know what they were getting themselves into financially.
Right.
So into 2000, I'm not sure, but they bailed, pulled out, or however it happened, I'm not sure. And so the Warriors didn't have an owner.
No.
I was okay because that was my last year. I was out of there.
Yeah.
But felt for all these other guys who had contracts and didn't know where they were going, whether they were coming or going. And so I think I know I was still in Auckland, but so then that's obviously when
Mick Watson come over.
Eric Watson, he come in and got Ridgie on board.
Yep, that's
right. And then they signed Daniel, I think, and started
building
signing players up. Because Ridgie actually rang me.
Yeah.
He goes, "Hey, would you be interested in playing one more year?" I said, "Mate, I can't because my knees were shot." Then I said, "Mate, I can't because I wouldn't even do half the training at the Warriors in the last those 2 years when I was there because most of my conditioning I do on the ergos or get on the bikes and swim and that, because I couldn't, because running, I could do it, but it'd take me a day or two to get over it.
Right.
Because my knees would blow up a little bit. I said to Ridgie Rungmas, "We're going to play one more year." I said, "Mate, I'm shot. I can't even run." He goes, "Oh, we'll just baby you through and all that, just be there for mentoring and
sounds like
blah,
Ridgie.
blah, blah." I said, "Oh." And then I said, "I don't know, mate, I don't know." Well, anyway, he spoke to Daniel Anderson, and Daniel Anderson said, "Nah, we don't want him." So that was okay.
Typical Aussies, like, "No, we don't want him."
Yeah, well, like I said, I was 33 then. I'd retired at 33, and I thought I'd had a pretty good run. 8 years. I didn't start till I was 25, so...
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It really is to come in sort of mid-20s and actually, winning that award at the Roosters. And you got Clubman of the Year in 1999 at the Warriors. That must be a nice honour to have.
Yeah, I remember my acceptance speech. I said, "I don't know what this award is for. I think it must be probably for the amount of bloody raffle tickets you can sell or something like that." But yeah, it was a nice recognition. Just Clubman, just as like, because I'm a bit of a character, bit of a joker. I'd have a bit of a laugh with the guys, and so I think my mentality back then was okay for some of the younger guys. I'd take an interest in the younger guys too. From I remember my days, like I said to you before, going to Australia, turning up there, no one giving me the time of day.
Yeah.
And you're a bit of an outcast. So I made sure when there was new guys coming to the club and that, that I'd, as a senior guy, would make myself known and sort of try and help them come through a bit better. And that,
a lot of them come through quite shy.
Yeah,
New Zealand, quite shy.
So
that's awesome,
that's probably the Clubman of the Year. Nice. Something to do with that sort of stuff.
Oh, brilliant! No, I think that's amazing. So the last little thing of your career was actually playing for the Aotearoa Māori side at the World Cup. Like, what was that like, being in a cultural side, as opposed to the Kiwis in a World Cup?
Well, I'm Māori from East Coast. Well, my mum's East Coast, but Ngāti Porou. But she moved down here in Christchurch with the old man. And we were brought up as Pākehās.
Right.
So I didn't really have much of a Māori background in that, and so to play for the Māoris was huge. It was awesome.
Yeah.
To represent, our
heritage.
Our heritage and that was huge. But we were disappointing.
Yeah.
We had a real good team.
You did, like Tawera Nico and a few other big guns in the side?
We had a very good team. Yeah. Blokes had, Paul Rahi, Clinton Torpy.
He was a gun.
Tyrone Smith.
Yeah.
Sean Hoppy, Gene Nami.
Yeah.
Mate, the list just goes on. We had a very good team. And we should have gone a lot better, but we let ourselves down.
Yep.
And we didn't even... I think we were in a pool with Scotland, who don't play.
No.
They had a couple of NRL players. We beat them by about 2 points.
Oh, is that it?
Then we played Samoa. Coach changed the team to give everybody a game that didn't play in their first game. And Samoa was a game we needed to win to qualify for the quarters.
Yeah.
But we changed the whole team and we lost.
Oh, no.
And then we had to play Ireland, who don't play.
No.
But they had some NRL players, Scott Logan, I think, Kevin Campion, maybe, a couple of others.
Scott Logan, who's Souths and Roosters who play for them?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And they beat us.
Oh, you're kidding.
They beat us in a close game. So we didn't even qualify for the quarters. So.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
All that potential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, very disappointing.
Oh, that's a shame. But I think a beautiful way to finish your career playing for your culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty special.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you think... Oh, so you must love the pre-season Indigenous game.
Yeah.
You must love that.
Yeah.
Watching the Māori boys play.
Yeah. Love the haka.
Oh, so good, isn't it?
Love their hakas.
And I'm like full-blown Taki of it.
Yeah.
I love the haka, man.
Yeah,
it's so good. Gives me goosebumps every time I watch it.
They do a great haka.
Yeah.
So, no, it's cool.
Yes. That's awesome, man. What an amazing career. I think that's just incredible.
Been lucky.
Do you think there's ever an opportunity for the Māori team to ever be in a World Cup again? Do you think they'll ever do that?
We might have stuffed up those opportunities. I don't know. Not something I've thought about.
No.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like World Cup's a nation thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a one-off, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Right, shall we finish off with a couple of fun questions? Can Penrith go 4 in a row in 2024?
Yeah.
The old man Ivan Cleary,
Yeah. Well, what have they lost? Crichton. They'll lose
Spencer Leniu.
yeah.
Not a lot else.
Not a lot. So they're definitely capable.
I think so.
When you've got Nathan Cleary.
Yeah.
And even, some people's Jerome Luai's not everyone's cup of tea, but he's, what he can add there with his running game.
The vital cog in that team.
Yeah. And you've got Fisher Harris and Leota up front.
Beasts, aren't
They're definitely, every year it's harder to back up at that level. There's only one way for you to go from the top.
True.
But yeah, they can do it. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. What's your favourite TV show?
House.
House.
Have you ever seen it?
I love that show.
I love House.
It's so good.
It's awesome.
He is the best character ever.
I love House.
Oh,
There's been series links in there where you can just tape the whole series and that.
Oh, brilliant.
I've done that before and watched everything, and then a couple of months later another one's come on and I watch it, and my wife Louise comes in and goes, "You've seen that one, haven't you?" No, I haven't seen this one. I've watched every episode. But,
so good.
No, I could just keep watching them all the time.
Oh, brilliant.
Great sense of humour, House.
Okay, last question. If you were on death row, what would your final meal be?
I'm lucky because my wife Louise is a fantastic cook, so we make a great pair. She's a good cook and I'm a good eater.
Yep.
And anything that she cooks. I'm just a meat and veg man.
Nothing wrong with meat and veg.
So yes, one of my wife's meat and veg dinners.
Brilliant, mate. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Terry, for coming on the show. It's been an absolute privilege to meet you in person and hear about all your career. Some fascinating stories I bet nobody knew about, and the way you literally took the long way to get to the NRL and become one of the greatest props, in my opinion, of all time. So thank you so much for coming on the show. And thank you to everyone for watching. And make sure you join the Facebook group, the Instagram, and subscribe to the channel and all that stuff. But for now, I've been Dave, your host. This has been The Rock, Terry Hermansson, and we'll see you next time for Kickoff.
Full time.